Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Money Down Pod. That is my guy, Sean White. Follow him on Twitter at DumpsterFireFan. I'm Kayvon Izami at Kayvon_sports. Give the show a follow, please, at Money Down Pod on Twitter. Like, subscribe, rate, review, all that great stuff. It means the world to us. And welcome into a NFL Draft Rumors Edition pod, where we're going to break down all of the rumors going on as we are now 2 weeks away, a little bit less, for draft night and first round and then draft weekend. So it's about to be there's clearly a lot of smoke, there's a lot of fire, and there's a lot of bullshit going on. And we're here to parse all of that and try and figure out what is real and what is not. And Sean, it really starts with your team at number one, man. I mean, how are you feeling right now as we get so much closer to the draft?
Yeah, it's smokescreen season, and they are out in full effect right now. I mean, I think for probably about this 3-month period, we've all heard the Hutchinson to 1 rumors, and now all of a sudden we're getting curveballs thrown. Are they trying to trade back that way by throwing this stuff out there? Do they really like Travon Walker at 1? How much does Peterson impact it? Because we all know he wants an O lineman. I mean, just several things being thrown out there, fun stuff to discuss, and we're going to break it all down. So I can't wait to get into that. This draft can't get here quick enough. I'm so excited for it.
I cannot wait. And remember, for all you out there, we will be doing a live show on draft night, Thursday night, me and Sean in front of the television, live on YouTube, breaking down every single pick as we go. So stay tuned for that. All right, let's get into it. Let's start with some of this quarterback hype here, Sean. And let's start with Ridder. Look, a lot of rumors that Ridder is absolutely excelling in these interviews, man. They're the coaches, the GMs, they're getting him in front of a whiteboard, and he's just taken off. And we all saw that coming. He's a very cerebral guy. He's a smart guy. He's got athletic traits. He's pretty fast. He can move outside the pocket. He can throw outside the pocket, but obviously he has a lot of limitations too. But what clearly is selling some of these teams is just how he mentally processes film and how he's acting in these interviews, which looks like he could possibly jump in the first round, maybe even my Falcons trading back at 31, 30, 32 to get him. What are your thoughts on the Ridder hype? Do you believe it?
I think Ritter's got a lot of experience. I think it's helping him a lot on the whiteboard, which is something that these quarterback coaches just fall in love with for some reason. That's like their big thing. And even though they have some sort of deficiency on the field, if you can fall in love with a quarterback based on stuff like that, I mean, look, that's what got Gardner Minshew drafted in the 6th round. That's why you see some of these quarterbacks with limited arms get drafted a little higher. It's because they excel on the whiteboard, and Ritter's doing a good job on that. I will say this, Ridder does have a little bit of arm to back it up. It's just worrying about that accuracy, mechanics, and stuff like that. How good is he going to be? Kind of up in the air. But when you can excel on remembering plays, being able to run an offense, things like that, a lot of these quarterback coaches fall in love with you and think they can build something around you. So I think the hype's definitely real. We get a lot of these teams linked to him. I mean, not necessarily the Panthers at 6, but the Falcons seem to really love him, like you said. The Seahawks seem to be like that. Seems to be their quarterback that they like out of the group. I know you see the Steelers talking to him a lot as well. And the Lions, obviously, with that 32nd pick, looks like a team that might be primed to take a Desmond Ridder at the back end. He can sit behind Goff for a year. Everyone's pro comp for Ridder is probably a plus Marcus Mariota type, which would fit in perfect with what the Falcons have with Marcus Mariota. So yeah, I could see the Falcons maybe trying to jump them to 30 or 31 to get ahead of the Lions, because I feel like at this point his floor might be 32 with the Lions because of all the smoke that's there. And this is a smoke screen I'm kind of buying. I see him jumping into the first round somewhere, even if it's at 32.
I completely agree. I think he ends up going in the first round. And you, like you said, like I said, you can't put enough emphasis on how much these coaches fall in love with smart guys that can absorb the playbook instantly. And I also believe that him and Pickett are the most ready NFL players in terms of QBs. I think him and Pickett, everyone has weakness. You're always going to find weaknesses in QBs, and especially in this class, we're not very high on. But when it comes to being ready to play day one, I think Ridder and Pickett are the most ready for that. And I think that's going to help him. And I agree. I think this is true stuff that we're hearing. I think he goes in the first round, whether it's the Falcons, whether it's the Lions, whether it's the Seahawks, who someone I think trades back in. Maybe even if the Steelers like him at 20, who knows? I don't maybe see that happening, but someone's going to take him in the first round, and I fully believe that, which brings me to another QB, Matt Corral. I mean, we're hearing the Panthers really like him now. Could they like him enough to go 6 overall? Is that possible, or is it going to be trading back in? Do you think that Matt Corral also goes in the first round? Now we're looking at possibly 4 QBs go round 1.
Yeah, I think Corral's an interesting one because you didn't get to see him a lot with this off-season workout stuff because he had the injury. So he's really kind of an enigma in the media, really for the fans. And I don't know how the NFL really views him as much because he comes from that Lane Kiffin pull and throw offense where it's kind of just a bunch of RPOs out there. The thing with Corral you got to keep in mind is he has the swag, he has everything. He's a smaller guy. I think if the Panthers really are interested in him, they would have to take him at 6. That's the Panthers' issue right here is they don't have a second or third round pick. So they're waiting until 4th round for their next pick. If they want a quarterback, it's going to have to be at 6. And that's kind of interesting for me because they're going to have their pick of all these QBs. I don't think one goes in the top 5. And really seeing which one they like is going to be hard to pick out. I don't know what the smoke would be for them saying they like Corral. I don't know which team they would kind of be throwing that out there because you would think if that was the case, they're trying to get a team to trade up with them and flip it back. Like, hey, you like Corral, he's not going to make it to you. But I don't really know which one of the teams outside of what, maybe the Saints that might like him there. But you're not going to trade interdivision, really.
No.
That's the thing with that. So I think Corral, if he gets past the Saints, I could see him falling out of the first, to be honest. I don't really know if the Lions are going to take him at 32. I think they're way more high on Ritter, Pickett, and Malik Willis. So I don't know if the Lions would take him at 32, and I don't see any teams raring to jump up into the back end like a Ritter because you'd obviously want to jump the Lions for that, and the Lions would take Ritter at 32 for that 5th-year option instead of waiting for 34. So that's kind of where the Ritter thing comes in against Corral, which I just don't see the hype around Corral if he makes it past the Panthers. Don't really know what the Panthers are doing, to be honest, so we can go more in depth on them. They're kind of in a limbo here, so they're kind of hard to figure out. I don't really see the benefit of them putting out that they like Corral this much without it being kind of a little bit of a smokescreen because they're going to have their choice of Corral either way, and the person that would probably trade up most for him is a divisional opponent.
Yeah, the Panthers are maybe the most fascinating team in the first round. I would say definitely the most fascinating team in the top 10. And it's because every level of that organization wants something different. If you think about it, Sean, the head coach wants to save its damn job. So what do you need to do that? A quarterback, because you know you're not saving your job with Sam Darnold. Maybe you want to bring in Baker Mayfield, whatever. The GM wants to build an organization, wants to build a team, and he wants to take his time doing that, which means, you know, a tackle, a defensive end, even though they already have a really good D-line.
And their GM comes from the Seahawks, so he's probably prone to some off-the-wall boards. We see the Seahawks have wide boards, kind of off-the-wall stuff. You could see that GM probably having a strange board as well at 6. Go ahead.
Yeah, and that is definitely something the Seahawks do. And then the quarterback one, I mean, the owner wants to sell tickets and win. That's what the owner wants. So you look at it and you say you have 3 different people in the organization wanting 3 different things. And that's why it's so fascinating. Which one's going to win out? You usually would say, well, the owner's going to win out. But is the owner siding with one of these guys more than the other? Because if the owner ends up saying, I want a QB, then Pickett is going number 6 overall. It's Pickett. Because he went to Pitt, he knows Kenny Pickett, and I think Matt Rule would be totally fine with Kenny Pickett as well. And I think Kenny Pickett's the most NFL-ready quarterback as well in this draft. So I'm still sticking with my prediction that Kenny Pickett is going to go 6 overall. That's what I believe, because I think at the end of the day, the owner is going to say, I want the quarterback, and that's going to be the final decision. But maybe he doesn't intermingle into that decision and the GM gets his way and they go with something off the board, just like you said. It will be fascinating to see. On Corral, real quick, I think that injury hurt Corral a little bit because I actually think Corral's really athletic. I think Corral would have wowed some people if he was able to do some of these workouts this offseason. So And I think that now that he's kind of talking with teams and they're looking at his film, I think that's why you're starting to hear more about him, because I like Corral. I think he's talented. Now, do I think he's going to be really good? I don't, because I can't trust that RPO system to translate in college very well that much. It's hard for me, but I do think he has some strengths that can translate. And I do think if he was able to work out, it would have helped him, but I don't think he ends up going in the first round. I think right now, if I had to predict, you're going to get Pickett, Willis, and Ritter all go in the first round. And if another one does slide in, it will be Corral. But I think we're going to end up seeing 3 go in the first.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. And that's great point you're making on the structure that we're feeling here with the Panthers, because not only does this owner really want a star to build around, they have all sorts of issues with this practice stadium they're building out in South Carolina. That's been kind of coming out and leaking out. That's kind of causing some rift there. We have this GM and head coach that wasn't hired at the same time, but you would think that the GM was brought in to just help rule out, but he could be making a power play here. Again, he's from the Seahawks. We had the issue last year. I want to point this out too. If they don't go quarterback, they're talking heavy in left tackle, correct? They need a left tackle bad.
Yes.
Here's something to keep in mind with that. I said the Seahawks have really strange boards. The Panthers GM and coach completely didn't have Slater from the Chargers as a left tackle on their board last year, and he was one of the best left tackles as a rookie, and it was for arm length. So 2 to really watch out for there. Charles Cross, Penning. Not a lot said about him. Everyone has Neal and Iquanu as the top 2. But it wouldn't shock me if the Panthers, even given their choice between all of them, if they wouldn't do something crazy and maybe take Penny or Cross over them. Because I'm telling you, them and the Seahawks have some of the weirdest boards you're going to see out there. So keep an eye on that. And we're going to learn a lot about how this organization is structured based on if they take a quarterback or a left tackle here at 6. Going to be one of the most fascinating picks to watch on draft night.
No doubt about that. No doubt about that. And I will be glued to the TV to see what they do, especially being a division rival of my Falcons. I want to hit on this. We talked about the QBs a lot now. Let's move to this idea here, which would be great for your team, that Linderbaum, the center out of Iowa, could possibly fall out of the first round. And if that happens, I fully believe, and you fully believe, the Jags will snag him at 33, which would be an absolute win. I don't care what you guys do for the rest of the draft. If you get Hutchinson at 1 and Linderbaum at 33, you won the draft, bro. Like, you won the draft. Like, that would be phenomenal. This pisses me off, though, Sean. I'm not going to lie. I would love it for your team because you're my boy. But the idea that Linderbaum's going to fall out of the first round is an absolute joke. And this is my whole saying on that. Listen, I'm all about the highs, bro. I'm all about getting that high level high, if putting your head back, nodding out, getting super high on these draft picks. I get it. You want to get the top ceiling type of game. That's how this draft works. You're looking for the guy that is going to hit at the highest level possible. It's about hope. It's about maximizing potential. But sometimes, Sean, we need to look at the damn tape and just say, why not just get a guy that we know is going to hit, that we know is a safe pick? And I can stand here today and say, I guarantee you, Sean, that Linderbaum is going to be a starting center in the NFL for many years as long as he doesn't get injured. I can guarantee that. There are some picks every single year in the draft where you can look, like Tristan Wirfs the other year. We all said that guy is going to be a starting offensive lineman in the NFL. It's just obvious. Like, you just can tell. Tyler Linderbaum is going to be a really good center. Now, is he going to be the best center in the NFL? Probably not. Is he going to be a Pro Bowl center in the NFL? He might have years in and out of it, but is he going to be a reliable starting center in the NFL that you will give a second contract to? I fully believe it, as long as there's no injury issue. So when that's the case, why the hell not take him? Why not? I get the high of the high. I get that the GMs are chasing it. But sometimes I don't understand why they won't just step back and say, let me get the pick that I know is going to translate into a real first-round pick that works, especially some of these teams on the back end that are already really good.
Yeah, completely agree on that. And I think the thing that we keep seeing with these rumors are strength and arm issues with the length of his arms and then his scheme fit. I think the first two are kind of nominal. I think he plays with excellent strength, and you can see that even when he doesn't have the strength advantage, he was a high school wrestler. He plays with great leverage, which is important on the lines. So that doesn't bother me at all, really, when I'm talking about it. The scheme fit thing is the interesting one, and I think that's kind of where a lot of this is coming from. I think a lot of the top 15 teams don't want to take a center on positional value. Then you look at like the Saints and Eagles area. The Eagles have Kelsey, and I don't know if they really want to not really waste a pick, but quote unquote throw a pick at Linderbaum to just replace Kelsey when he's got a year left, and you can find centers throughout the draft. So that's kind of where the 20 and below group are. I think the back end, I think it's a scheme fit issue. I think the back end just don't have a ton of zone blocking teams, and the teams that made the playoffs that do that are like the 49ers and the Dolphins, who have traded completely out of the first. So I think that's where we're getting a lot of this coming at us, I don't know if the Packers would necessarily take one with their zone scheme. They don't tend to lean that way. And they've got to take a receiver with one of their 2 picks. I don't care what you say. So that's kind of where that's falling. And I think that's also why you see us Jags fans and a lot of the people being like, if he does fall out of the first, it's going to be to the Jags at 33 because we do a zone blocking system. And he would be a perfect fit in a Doug Peterson run system that already had a Kelsey at center when he was there for the Super Bowl. So I think that's where we're seeing the fit. But you're completely right. He's a great football player. You should take him. And we're going to talk about another guy here in 1 second, right after I finish up this thought about Linderbaum and Kyle Hamilton. Sometimes you just get these players that are just great players, and you got to take them no matter the measurables, no matter things like that. And I get that there's like different versions of college players to NFL that doesn't project, but I think the 3 we're going to talk about today really will project, and they're going to fall in the draft, and people are going to get absolute steals from taking them. Linderbaum is one of those, and as a Jags fan, I hope he's there at 33 because I think he'd be a great pick.
Spot on, Sean. Spot on. And it happens every single year. Happens every single year. And let's go to the guy that you just mentioned in Kyle Hamilton. We're now here, and look, it looked like a couple months ago he was a lock to go top 10. Now we're hearing he could fall out. Washington could take him. He could fall even farther. Who knows? To me, that's wild. I get the positional value part of this, of the safety. But just like you said so well, sometimes there are players that check off every single box. And not only is Kyle Hamilton a damn good football player, but he's just a really smart, cerebral, good guy. He's killing it in the interview room. He's killing it on the whiteboard. He's going to be able to play that position at not only at a very high level, but also at a adaptable level because he's so big, dude. He can do different things. I love Kyle Hamilton. I would be 1,000% fine with the Falcons taking him at 8, and I think it's absurd if he falls out of the top 10. And I think it's really absurd if he falls past 12. If he falls past 12, someone's going to get a massive steal in this draft. He's too good of a player, and he's too good of a guy in the classroom.
Yeah, Hamilton's one of the better players in the draft, like really a top 5 talent in my opinion. It's his position that really throws him, and the fact that he ran a little slow at his pro day, which I think is kind of strange. He ran slower at his pro day than the combine, so we're going to get all up in arms about that. Does he play fast on film? Yes, he does. Yeah. Does he have a lot of size on film? Yes, he does, and he's always in the area to make plays. You hear this all the time. Yep. The safety has to be everywhere and all this and that, but the positional value is low because I think safety is very important, and people don't put enough stock into what they do.
You're spot on.
The Legion of Boom wouldn't have been what it was without Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor. Let's be honest. They were 2 of the bigger cogs. I know Sherman gets a lot of the hype, but Browner on the other side wasn't some lockup corner. They always had Earl over top of them, and in the run game, they always had Chancellor coming down and hitting somebody. The safety position is very important, but they feel like you can get them anywhere. And that's the kind of issue we're having with Hamilton. I think that Washington defense, if they do take Hamilton, that Washington defense is going to be legit because they had a lot of injuries on their D-line, but they are set there, and they just drafted a young linebacker. If you can put a Hamilton who can go sideline to sideline and come up and hit you in the run game, that pick right there would be crazy for the defense. They would have one of the top 5 defenses and probably the number 1 defense talent-wise in the league. Hamilton falling out makes no sense to me. Another guy, let's go ahead and talk about Dean, because Dean's going to fall too, and it's going to shock a lot of people. This is going to be shocking to a ton of people because they watched the national championship. They saw Nakobe Dean. They saw the playoff game. They saw him get up into his teammates and really lead them and make a ton of clutch tackles. He was talked about a lot all over the field. But Dean might fall out of the first round, and I'm going to be the first to tell you that. And he might not be the first Georgia linebacker taken because Quay Walker's going to go over him. And it's all because of size in the NFL. And it's an obsession that these NFL GMs have that you have to have a certain size to play. Even though Willis and these smaller linebackers have really shown that you can be smaller, but you have to be special. It's going to depend on, do you think Nakobe Dean is special enough to be a player like that? I personally believe he is, but I'm here to tell you, at 33, and I know a lot of people in the back of the first round, at 33, if a team is going to take a linebacker like the Jags, and it's between Quay Walker and Nakobe Dean, they're going to take Quay Walker over Nakobe Dean, even though Nakobe Dean has better film and played better than Quay on the field, all because Quay Walker's about 6'4", and Nakobe Dean's probably like 5'10", 5'11". And it doesn't make a lot of sense, but somebody's going to get a steal in the second round and a tackling machine in Nakobe Dean, and everyone's going to be shocked that he fell so far, but he's going to fall because of size, and that's what's going to happen.
I would understand that if this was the NFL 10 years ago. I'd even give you 5 years ago. But in the NFL today, we see linebackers excel that are able to go that lateral quickness, sideline to sideline, just like he can do. His athleticism is off the charts. And the way he understands defenses, which we saw at offenses, which we saw at Georgia, makes him play even faster. He's the captain of a defense, man, and he showed he can do it at the highest level in college, and I fully believe he can do it in the NFL, and that's why I'm sticking to this. I don't think he will fall in the first round because I think the Patriots will take him, and I think he will be. We will all look at it in 5 years from now and say, damn, the Patriots, how the hell did they get that guy? And he will be an absurd player on their defense because he's perfect for what they do there. I really believe that. Now, maybe I'm wrong because I know they need quarterback because they lost their top cornerback this year, and maybe they take someone like Andrew Booth or Kyle Gordon or something because they need that more. But I still believe he is the exact type of player that Bill Belichick loves. He's smart. He's the captain of the team. He's quick. He's athletic. He knows the offenses that he's playing so well. I don't understand it. I think you're right. And I like Quay Walker, but I don't like him more than Nakobe Dean at all. At all. I take Nakobe Dean. I take him a couple notches above Quay Walker. But I think if he does not go to the Patriots, unfortunately, I think you might be right. He might end up falling into the second round. That's just absurd to me.
Yeah, and one thing I will say, Dean kind of did hurt himself, but also kind of helped himself with agent talk. Dean didn't test because he was injured, but he also refused to get measured, which that's the thing that like a lot of agents tend to do. If you're a slow guy, you see this with Drake London. He's going to be a slower guy. He didn't run the 40, if you notice. Like, why would you run the 40, let your tape speak? Dean knows he's small. There's no sense of putting a number beside it. He knows he's a smaller dude, so they didn't measure him. So that's kind of one of the things as well. Some teams might be turned off by that, but in reality, as an agent, I can understand not having your guy get measured. There's no sense in putting that 5'10", 5'11" next to him if you don't have to when he's not even going to test. If he was going to test and test it off the charts, then you can be like, yeah, he's smaller, but look at how crazy he's going to test. You really got to go off the film on him, and his film's really good. It's just going to come down to that. I think it is interesting, though. Another rumor floating out that I know we didn't write down I want to talk about, linebacker might not get taken in the first round. I saw Devin Lloyd might get taken in the first round for age. So I think that's an interesting one as well. Linebackers, a lot like safeties, have kind of fallen off the positional value chart because you can find so many of them. I mean, 30 and 40 of them get taken each year. And you see guys like Wilson for – the Bengals that get taken in the third round and just tackle machine. We just paid Foye. Lucan. Still got to learn that name. It's a tough one. I'm sure I'll be screaming it when he's tackling.
You'll get it because the announcers are going to say his name like 30 times a game because all he does is tackle like no other.
Exactly. But another late round pick at linebacker just got paid by us. You find these linebackers out there, and they're not as flashy as wide receivers, who you might find those deeper in the draft, but they're not as flashy. They don't seem to have the impact. You could coach up a linebacker. So I can see linebacker being devalued as a position, and maybe a lot of these guys get pushed to the second round. I think if any of them has a chance, it's probably Lloyd and Quay Walker, just because they have the measurables. But I'm telling you, these linebackers might go in the second round, and teams are going to get great players because of it. So that's something to watch for on draft night.
No doubt about that. That's a really good point. Let's move on to a player that might be in a Jags jersey in 2 weeks, in less than 2 weeks, and that's Travon Walker. I mean, look, the smoke is real on this. He might go number one, and if it's not to you guys, it might be to a team like someone trading up to him to get him. Do you believe that you guys take Trayvon Walker number one, or that you trade out for him?
I think we would like to trade out. I think that's obviously the big thing. And the trade value chart is kind of what's hurting us right now. And I'm going to go on like a minute tangent on this. The trade value chart, that's well and good when you have a bunch of quarterbacks up top or elite players. I think we should throw the trade value chart out the window for this draft. A lot of these players are bunched together similarly. And while if you're going to trade from 4-1 or 5-1, don't ask them for an extra first. Don't ask them for that. It's not a good enough draft for the player they're going up to get for that. Just get an extra 2 out of it. Just get something like that. And I think Balky, we saw a report that Balky is kind of hesitant on drafting Trayvon Walker because he feels like the fans and the media will roast him for not taking Hutchinson or getting a king's ransom. I personally don't think you need a king's ransom. I think that Hutchinson's so closely grouped together with these top 4 players that if you just pull a second-round pick from it, then that's a win. You get an extra player. That's how I feel about it. But again, the trade value chart's going to say that you need more. I think Balky's going to heed to that. On the Walker front, Balky's a big fan of Trayvon Walker, and that's not a smoke screen. That's absolutely true. He loves Aldon Smith. That's who he drafted in San Francisco. Everybody thought was a bit of a head scratcher, and Walker kind of has the same similar measurables as Aldon without the college production. But he doesn't have the college production because he didn't play on the edge as much. He played 3 and 4 different positions on the line. And even though Hutchinson's probably the safest pick, a ground rule double, I can also make the argument that Walker's a safe pick as well, because if he doesn't play well at edge, you can put him at 5 tech and 3 tech, and he'll play just as well too. So that's one of the things that's up and down. I think right now it's probably a 50-50 proposition. Balky could end up taking Walker and just going with the upside. That's what he likes to do in his drafts. If you ever look back to the San Francisco drafts, he was a guy that took people like Buckner and Armstead and people like that with high upside. Yeah. You could see that happening. But Hutchinson, right now, I'd probably lean about 55-45. It's Hutch over Walker, and that's going to be something to monitor coming into the draft, because I think it's going to come down to the wire on those two being the number 1 pick this year.
Yeah, I think that's fascinating with Walker. I think he's one of the most fascinating players that we'll find out really early where exactly he's going. I'm going to tie this in. This is my issue. I think Walker's going to be good. He's going to be a starter in the NFL, all that stuff. I just don't think he's going to be what he's being made out to be. And I actually think that I would put him as the 4th edge rusher in this class. And this is why. And I've changed my mind on this. Sean, when it's all said and done, I think Jermaine Johnson will be the best edge rusher in this entire draft.
Well, let me take a victory lap. I brought Kayvon around to the dark side over here. If you guys have been watching our breakdown and rankings of top 5 players at their position, I've had Jermaine Johnson at number 2 this whole time, over Hutch and over Walker. I've had him right behind Thibodeau, and I've even argued that I like him better than Thibodeau sometimes. I love Jermaine Johnson. I'm glad to see I brought you over to the dark side, so go ahead and talk about it.
It's the bright side, actually, because this is the right side. You brought me to the right side. And to me, dude, he's already phenomenal as a run stopper. I've watched him a lot, and I don't even think he's gotten close to his ceiling as an edge rusher. He still has so much room to learn as a rusher. He's got great hands. He's got great size. He's a beast. He's an absolute beast. And I saw someone say this. I forgot. It might have been Cosell, actually. He said that he reminds him of Aldon Smith. And I 1,000% agree with that. You can totally see it. He does remind me of Aldon Smith. And when it's all said and done, man, I'm telling you, now I totally am with you on this. I think Jermaine Johnson is going to be the best edge rusher in this class. And it brings me back to Walker. I don't think Walker can do anywhere near what Jermaine Johnson will be able to do. I don't think Walker can do what Thibodeau will be able to do. And I don't think Walker can do what Hutchinson will be able to do. Like, I'm not trying to go on this thing that Walker's a bust because of what you said so well about him being able to play a couple different ways on that line. It's going to make him good. He's going to be good in the NFL because he can do that. But I don't think he's going to be anywhere near impactful in terms of his statistics, for sure, without a doubt. He is not going to be one of these guys, Walker, that is going to put up big statistics. He's going to be one of these guys that are going to have to show his potential and his impact with just being able to know football and watch it on the film. Like, Hutchinson could be a guy with stats. Jermaine Johnson will be a guy with stats. Kayvon Thibodeau will be a guy with stats. Walker will not. Walker will be a guy that shows his impact based off just what he does throughout the line and how they move him around. And yeah, I'm dropping him down to number 4, bro. I'm dropping him down past all of those guys. He won't be a bust, but for where he's being talked about going, it's gotten out of hand. It's gotten out of hand.
Yeah, I think what you're doing with Walker is you're going to have to make sure your D-line coach and D coordinator are really all in and know how to train up a guy. And I think what you're really projecting Walker is that he'll be a plus version of Jermaine Johnson in the future. Is that if you bring him in, you're going to be able to teach him a bunch of pass rush moves because he has the measurables to do something like that. That's why I've been saying this for a while. And I've had Jermaine Johnson so high because he already has a certain set of pass rush moves that are still pretty raw. Honestly, he still needs to work on them. But the ones he has are already effective enough to get to the quarterback. So he's kind of the plus version of Walker right now, but you're betting on your coaches to be able to coach Walker to a higher level than that because he has slightly more measurables than Jermaine Johnson. And when you look at Thibodeau and you look at Hutchinson, obviously both of them have 3 pass rush moves that they've kind of perfected. Thibodeau's are way more raw, but he only has a few. And Hutchinson's like dialed into his 3, and that's kind of how he sticks it. He comes in with a game plan every time. So I think the what we're hearing from everybody is the same. Hutchinson's kind of your stand-up double. He's going to be productive no matter what. Walker's your huge upside guy that you're going to have to coach and really teach a lot. You have Thibodeau that's been the guy, but you're going to have to give him a little bit of coaching as well. And Jermaine Johnson's really just at the floor of what he can be because he's just now getting it. And again, I've had him ranked at number 2. I've talked about putting him at possibly 1. Glad to hear Kayvon has came around on him. I think he's a great guy. I think the Falcons would use him at 8. I know you probably are hype on that point. I definitely could see the Seahawks taking him at 9. I think that's probably his floor.
Absolutely. I would absolutely love it. I think that sounds phenomenal to me. Let's move on here. And again, I think just to add on to that, I think that he becomes a guaranteed top 10 pick. I think that's what will end up happening. I think that's what should happen. Let's talk about, we left out a quarterback here, and I just want to hit on it real quick with Malik Willis. The smoke has definitely died down. No, I don't think it's possible. Do you think there's still a chance he could go number 2 to Detroit?
No, I don't believe so. I think Detroit's got to take an edge, right? Like, it's either going to be Hutchinson or Walker for them, I believe, and it's going to be the one that the Jags don't take. Kind of feel like that's where we're leaning. Yeah. I do think it's going to be interesting if it's not Walker, if they were going to take Thibodeau, because I know there's smoke there too. I think that top of the draft is going to be fascinating. Like, if the Jags take Walker, I feel like number 2 is definitely Hutchinson. Yeah. But if the Jags take Hutchinson, I feel like number 2 is going to come down to Walker or Thibodeau. It's going to be interesting to see who they have as their number 2 edge rusher, because I could see Walker going straight to the Jets at 4, because I think the Texans are taking Ekwonu if he's there. Yeah. So that top 4 is going to be interesting to shake out. It's all going to be based on what they do at 1, but I think the Lions are probably locked into edge rusher for sure. And I'm going to be honest with you, I think Malik Willis might actually make it to the Steelers at 20 now.
I think so too. Because I think Pickett goes to the Panthers at 6, and I don't think anybody takes Willis after that. And I think he falls to the Steelers at 20. I'm 1,000% with you on that. One other thing I want to hit on here that could be fascinating. If the Lions take Thibodeau at number 2 for some reason, how far could Hutchinson fall? If you guys took Walker, the Lions took Thibodeau, how far could would Hutchinson go for? I don't think the Jets would take him.
I think the Texans might go take him. I
You
think
think the
that'd be
Texans
the
would
one
take him?
edge the Texans would
Okay.
take. I think the Texans would take him then.
I think so
'Cause
too.
I think the Texans probably view Ekwonu as a better player than Walker and Thibodeau.
Yeah.
So if it came down to one of them to go with Ekwonu, they probably take Ekwonu. Because I think they're going to put Ekwonu at guard. I think they're going to build around Mills and put Ekwonu at
I
guard.
agree.
Put Tunsil and Howard on the outside.
I agree.
Because I think that's why they're not going to take Neal. If they did take Neal, they'd put him at guard too. But I think they probably lean Ekwonu on that. I just think that Hutchinson's probably their number one edge guy, and they're probably going to have him ahead of Ekwonu in that situation and take him there. That would be my guess. Or either they would see the board and say, okay, these edges are going fast. Let's take an edge rusher and get a tackle at 13. I thought I could see that happening. Or either take a guard at 13 because that'd be more positional value. I could see the Texans looking at it like that. But we talked about in our last mock draft what the Texans do. Caserio is one of these Belichick guys that we really haven't got to see him have a draft like this because he only had third-round picks last year.
Yep.
It's going to be fun to see what the Texans do at 3 and 13. A lot of smoke. They like Jordan Davis at 13 too. In that Lovie Smith two-gap scheme, I mean, Davis would be a beast of a player. Going to be interesting to see who they take at 3 and 13. I can't wait to see it. That's another good one to watch right there.
Really exciting one to watch. They have a lot of needs, and if Caserio does well, which by the way, he did well with the last draft. Like he did well. If he does well, they could be off and running if Davis Mills is the guy that they think he's going to be. So that'll be phenomenal to really exciting to watch and see what happens from there. Anything else you think we should hit on before we wrap up the smoke?
No, I think we're good on the smoke screens. Like I said, it's going to be fun to watch. I can't wait to see it. We're gonna bring out some more positional value, our final big board at the end of the next week, and then we're going to hit our last mock draft. I'm going to do a full one. Kayvon's going to do a full one. We're going to go through, explain our picks right quick. And we're going to put that out on Monday, the week of the draft. And then we'll be live on Thursday for that draft. Come in, see what we're saying about the picks that's getting made. Come in and hang out with us. It's going to be a fun time. We're going to be live the whole draft. It's going to be a fun one to talk about.
The whole draft. And again, we will answer. You guys come in. You can. It's so easy. You just start commenting. We'll answer every single comment. We'll have some fun. Let's really debate down draft night live, baby. This was the Money Down Pod, the NFL Draft Rumor Edition. By the way, episode number 60, the big 60, as the Money Down Pod continues to roll on here. That is my good friend Sean White. Give him a follow at Dumpster Fire Fan, myself at Kayvon_sports. Please like, subscribe, rate, review. It really means the world to us. It helps us out a ton. We answer all your questions, so continue bringing those as well. And look out for our NBA prediction. We kind of went through a lot that we talked about with the first round, and we're going to do some predictions as well. So look out for those for you NBA fans as well. More draft talk next week. Talk to you then.